All right, welcome back, everybody. Hope you enjoyed that. And I'm here now with Leandro Ramirez, and met Leandro actually through Gail Villanueva, and he learned about me and my educational side, consulting program and such, and had a couple conversations. And he made a business decision, and he's been sticking with it and doing really, really well in the industry. Welcome, Leandro. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, Kevin. It's a
Excellent.
pleasure
No,
to be here with you.
I really appreciate it. I've been in the industry a long time, and one of the things I've always seen over the years is people do get motivated, people do get remotivated when they hear what other people are doing. Sometimes people get kind of bogged down in life, or sometimes people struggle a little bit in the beginning of this, and it's always nice to hear from third parties, someone like yourself who's really new to the industry, right? I mean, you were brand new to the industry when you started. Is that correct?
That's correct, Kevin. I just came to US like 2018 to pursue an MBA, and right now I'm just starting with the notes industry.
And sorry, you cut out there just a little bit. So you came here in 2018. You're getting a master's degree, and what attracted you to the note industry? I was always curious about that myself, and I know you met Gail, so maybe there's a story within that as well.
That's right. That's right. I started to after my MBA. So as I said, I came here to US to pursue an MBA. I was working as an expat in Peru as a risk manager for a big contractor company. And then my story in the US started with this MBA in 2018. And after my graduation, I had like an integrate project to put into execution what I was intending to do in the US after the MBA. And mainly was trying to attract some foreigners to invest in the real estate industry in the US. And my first goal was to find some multifamily. So at the beginning, I was really focused on multifamily industry. There is some good attractions there, some good points. But then I realized that the multifamily was not so liquid for the investor side. So mainly most of the deals was on a hold for 3 to 5 years. And then I say, no, I need to look something more liquid where I can try to make the investors make it easy to invest. And if they decide to get out, there is a way to do it like after a year or a year and a half. And then I start to understand and try to study more about notes. And I heard one podcast from Gail was very interesting. And I say, I'd like to connect with Gail because I'm here in Florida too. And then Gail just introduced to you, so, Kevin is the right person to guide you through the notes industry. And here we are.
That's right. Yeah. And with with your progress in this, so coming, to the U.S. and then really having to learn even about our system and how the real estate works and everything, and to lead you to notes, it's an interesting journey. I think you're in the right spot for that. But I'm assuming that based upon the fact that you came here for further education, you're a big proponent of learning the business before just going out there and starting to look at assets. And what I mean is I've got several people right now that are considering the education. They're going, well, maybe I'll just start looking at assets and maybe buy something on there and see how it goes. What are your thoughts on all of that?
Yeah, I really believe that education is key for everybody. So I have a motto on my side that is education change people and people change the world. And I'm really advocate that we need to keep educating ourselves through the entire life. It's a never-ending process. And on the notes side, I said that I really need to understand the business as the whole, to have all the tools, and then put the boots on the ground and try to see some deals. So that's something that I really believe that we need to surround ourselves with smart people that we can get some insights, and of course get some training to know what you are doing, because the notes is not that easy. It's there is some good things that we always talk about. What is the attraction that we have through the notes, This is, you can buy a discount, high yield, it's a secured collateral, but you need to understand the whole business to make sure that we are doing the right thing. And that's through education. There is no way that you can invest without knowing the whole big picture, the step in, the step out. There is a way to come into the notes, and there is an exit strategy. So you have to navigate through the entire process on this industry, you know, and education is the way.
Right. And you were able to go through pretty quick the educational courses I have online and such. I mean, you absolutely, I think, tasked yourself to do that, which I always try to encourage people to do. So it was great when you said, "Hey, I'm going through them. I'm getting to that point. I'm going to start to ready look at assets." And I think that was great. But there may be some people curious as to if they're just getting started or restarted again, how much time do they need to invest to start to learn the business again?
Yeah, this is something that when I first got in contact with the material and all the videos, I said I need to split some time, and I have some dedicated time to do it. And I was doing like in the morning and late night, you know, because I have kids, I have all the stuff to do for the entire day. And I said, no, at least I need 2 hours a day to go through the videos and try to get all this information and digest this information, because it's not only about watching the videos. You have to pause, to try to understand, and to make sure that you are getting all the information in the right way. So I really recommend everybody to get at least an hour and a half, 2 hours a day, so you can keep progressing, because it's tough when you start something, then you stop, and it's not easy to get motivated to come back. So you have to be very dedicated to put some goals and try to achieve those goals, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I think the other thing it does, at least for me, if I'm studying something new, and like you said, if I don't do it consistently, it's getting back in that whole mindset again, where you're like, oh, how did that work again? Versus if you do have a set agenda and get through it, I think there's a lot more congruency to that. And I appreciate the other thing that you did along that same. I offer a lot of service, as you know, and tell people, look, if you have questions, ask, because that's the other thing. It's hard when you're learning something new to be able to move forward on it if you have a lot of questions on it. And I think you and I interacted quite a bit from the very beginning, right?
Yeah, I was checking the number of emails that we were exchanging, and it was quite a lot, you know, because that's the way I think education works. You have to go through the material, and you always have a question at a point in time, because it's your material is very good, but you are always trying to make the match with what you are learning and what you are seeing on the notes when you are underwriting. So that's important to get this feedback, and you've been awesome with me trying to get all the questions so I can keep moving forward.
Mm-hmm. That's great. Well, I appreciate that. And also getting on and reviewing assets. So as you got through the education and started turning that corner of, okay, now part of the education is I have to look at assets. I think some people are amazed that you don't have to look at as many assets in the note business to get good deals as you do, for example, apartment complexes or single family homes. I think you have to look at a lot more of those assets to find something good. And you were pretty quick on finding some things that fit. And what was your methodology or insight behind that?
So when going through the material, I was checking all the options that I had to invest. So as always, we have a limited amount of money. So we have to be careful in what money we want to deploy into this business and all the asset class. And then I decided to be more on the protective side of the notes. I said, no, first, as a beginner, I need to do it carefully. I don't want to do like non-performing second liens that you have to go through all this loan modification and strategy. I said, I'm not in that point to do it. So let's do the basic. And I said, let's start on performing one that I really like in some states that is easy to do, like a foreclosure, or if the deal goes wrong. And I really challenge myself to find some deals on the performing side and good deals with a lot of equity
Hmm.
to navigate in those hard times that we are right now.
Hmm.
So, but yes, I think it's not, education is key, consistency is key, but you have to challenge yourself to start, and maybe you can start small, like you always said. No, you can buy partials, you can buy some small notes. There is plenty of opportunity for everybody. There is, I think it's on the notes industry. It's not easy to, and it's hard to have an excuse to say I don't have money, because you can buy really partials with small amount of money. It can be very creative.
Hmm.
So on my strategy, I decided to focus on performing one first, to really jump into this industry, try to learn, because once you are studying, it's one thing. It's like a game. Train is train, and the game day is different. So despite that you are listening, reading a lot, once you step into the deal, it's completely different, because you see the real picture, no?
Yeah, yeah, and I think it's paid big dividends because we've taken, you and I, through Zoom, we've taken some deep dives into some of those deals because it required it. We had to go through public records, we had to scrutinize some documentation, we had to request additional documentation, but that's all absolutely a part of it, and that's what you have to know, because I know you're working on some things right now that you haven't had to ask me questions about anymore, because you're kind of down that path. Like, I've seen that a little bit before. So again, part of it's just doing that pattern and looking through the proper materials and just understanding that process. And I know with you have, I think, two goals in mind. One was initially to prove it to yourself, proof of concept kind of thing. And then also, as you mentioned earlier, working with other investors. And I think, and you already know this, but I think it's going to be an easier transition when you can really know the documents, know the procedures, know what to look for on all of these deals. And I think it's just going to get easier and quicker for you to go through. Agree?
Yeah, I agree. 100% agree. And it's as you always said, it's all about the story and the numbers. And to do the underwriting, you should understand what is the collateral, what is all the that you can get from this property. But you should never forget that we behind this all underwriting process, we have a homeowner that it's their story. So this is was I was amazed about this mix of story and numbers,
Uh-huh.
because I love to underwriting. I have this background of risk management and underwriting, and I love to play with the numbers, with the exit strategy. But you can't change the story of the person. So this is really awesome for me, and I really like this concept of doing this underwriting on both sides, on the numbers and on the personal side of the person that live in that home.
Right. What was your thoughts on your first deal and going through the process? Was it easier than you thought? Was it more difficult? Was it just, you just kind of feel a little lost until you do it? And then how did it work after that, going into the second one?
Yeah, the first one was a little bit tricky, because you were trying to understand the numbers, and trying to get all the material and the collateral. I think that there is a lot of legal process on these notes that we can't avoid. So you have to look all the securities, the collaterals, and it's not easy to understand all the chain of these liens and everything. When you go through, you try to track record, and it's not easy. But then we start to move forward and get over all these documents, and you feel more comfortable. But at a certain point in time, you need to make a decision and invest. But it was not easy, because you say, okay, I know the story, I know the numbers, let's move forward. But the next day, you never know what's going to happen, because despite the spreadsheet accept everything, you can do it the best way on the exit strategy. But the next day, the guy can have, like you always say, the main reasons for a default is death, divorce, and some disease. It can happen. So despite that you do everything right on the underwriting side, it can happen something wrong the next day. And it was really changing me, it really challenged me to move forward, because say, okay, let's sign, let's move forward. This note is mine. but the next day the guy can default. So
Right.
that's part of the game that you
Right.
have to accept. That it was very, very interesting for me and challenging on the first deal.
Yeah, just to get through, and but you learn so much going through that process, and I tell people all the time at any of my training events, I just say, look, nobody can teach you everything about this. There's part of it you just have to go through yourself, and you're right, and to think through all of those thoughts and emotions and the risk and the potential doubt on there. It's like building a new muscle, and once you keep working on it, it gets easier. You get a little used to not being able to see the properties, in person. I mean, so there's a lot of things that you just have to kind of work through yourself to get going. But you did a good job getting through that. So you've got two. Where are we at now? You've got two finished.
Yes, I have
probably
one in
boarding
Texas.
with servicing companies now, and
yes, that's interesting too, because I have one in Texas, one in Alabama, and I'm looking for other nodes. But also, when you get the node and you start to talk with the servicing company, there's a lot of things to deal with those companies, and it's also another learning process. But yes, actually, my portfolio, it's a small one, but it's growing fast.
Yeah. Awesome. Any other recommendations that you have for somebody who's maybe listening to the podcast, I guess, like you were, and kind of thinking, what should I do? Should I move forward? Is it the right time or not? Or what are your thoughts on all that?
Yeah, I think it's always from my side. I really do believe that education, it's very important. You have to be surrounded by smart people, but at the end, it's your own decision. It's like learning, making the kids to learn how to ride the bike. You can go through, but at a certain point in time, you should let them go.
Yeah,
it's the same on the coaching process. Despite that, we have a lot of calls and everything. Sometimes you just need to make your own shoot and just go. You have to make your decisions and take the risk. But there is no excuses to not do it. No, and I really believe in, as being a foreign here in US, it's amazing how easy to find information on the internet nowadays. So you can just underwrite from your computer, and it's amazing how information and the amount of information that we can get. But you have to train first. No, you have to be comfortable to do the business, because if you're not comfortable, it never works. So this is something that it's kind of the recipe: train, get comfortable with the business, and if you are not comfortable, move to another one, pivotate to another industry class, like I did. I was the beginning doing everything to jump into the multifamily. It's wonderful. It's an incredible asset class, but at that time, it was not suitable for me. So then I pivoted to the notes industry, and you have to find your own path,
Right. And I know when you start talking with your investors that want to put money into the U.S., I know it's going to be a lot easier for you to talk about everything and what that you've done and accomplished with them, and then it's repeating it just on a bigger scale, right?
Yeah, that's right. Something that it's that it's my goal. I'm trying to build up a fund to bring some foreign investors to invest here in the notes industry, and it's all about the investors need to know, to like, and trust. So for these three combinations, you need to have a track record and skin in the game. So that's what I'm trying to do now: invest my own money, so I have my skin in the game, to prove that I'm doing right with my own money, so I can manage the money of others people, and also build with some education that can people trust on my investment strategy and process.
Right. Absolutely. Well, that's fantastic. I appreciate it so much, and it's great when I can provide something like that, and somebody takes it and runs with it, and it's just it's always great to see, and it's inspiring to me as well. So I know it is for the listeners. So thank you for taking the time to go over that with us today.
No, that's my pleasure, and I really believe that notes it's a wonderful way to invest, and also if you think on the other side that we help a lot the homeowners to stay in their home, because we are much more flexible than the big banks. and we can afford to do different law modifications, very creative ways to keep people staying their home. And this is also the social aspect of the business that you cannot avoid to talk about, and that's awesome to that we are helping people to stay in their homes.
Yeah, and that's a great point, especially moving into the future here. So that's going to be very, very important. And I agree with you, obviously, wholeheartedly, that that's the opportunity that we have. We can do things that banks either can't or aren't willing to do. And I think that's going to help a lot of people moving forward. So thank you once again, Leandro, and for being on today.
Thanks for having me, Kevin.
You bet.
Bye.